Spokane. For those who don't know me, my name's Todd Eckloff. I'm the minister here, and the church where Lila was a member for a long time. And we have, of course, gathered here to remember and celebrate the life of Pist and a friend to, it looks like, half of Spokane. Lila's passing, as I'm sure you know, came only a few months after that of George Girvin, to whom she had been married for almost 3/4 of a century. The great majority, I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to their sons, to Tim, Rob, and Jonathan, and to your entire families, who I know are grieving the loss of both of theirs, loving, steadfast, and attentive presence in your lives. Lila was a presence in so many lives, in so many ways. Today you're going to hear from those who knew her far better than me, and in some of those different ways. I knew Lila best as a fellow Unitarian who was again a member of our church for nearly 5 decades. So I'll share a little bit quickly about the Unitarian part, because it gets at a quality of her character that should not be forgotten and go unmentioned. This word character comes from the Greek word for ethics. Just as mankind's first letters, its first characters, were etched into stone, our character gets etched into our souls, into our psyche in Greek, our psyche. It is the part of us that's always the same and present wherever we go and demonstrated in whatever we do, no matter what our circumstances. Our character defines us. It makes us reliable. It's the thing about us that people trust will be so. Lila, like George, was again a Unitarian, which after so many decades may have helped shape her character, but I imagine it was already true of her before she ever came to the Unitarian Church. It was her character, that is, that attracted her to the Unitarian religion and this community to begin with. Unitarianism, in brief, is most fundamentally rooted in a commitment to the inherent worth and dignity of every person and of all peoples, which means working for and being devoted to the principles of freedom and equality and well-being for everyone everywhere. I know George and Lila both demonstrated such commitment in many ways, in big ways. But I saw it mostly around here, in the way that Lila in particular interacted with me and interacted with others. She was both kind and mature in such interactions. If Lila disagreed with someone, for example, she'd kindly and directly express her opinions and her reasoning, and then she'd let go. She didn't hold any contempt for those who disagreed with her, as seems to be rampant in our society and in our world today. She didn't have to have things her way, which made her input all the more valuable and more likely to be taken into consideration. When Lila spoke, people listened. She was strong, but not pushy, kind, but not a pushover. Unitarians were the first group in history to pass a religious toleration law way back in 1568, guaranteeing the right of everyone to believe what they chose. That's the kind of tolerance that Lila almost always demonstrated, not because she was following the rules, but because it was part of her character. Of course, sometimes the unconscious the unconscious drives within us compete. And as a Jungian, Lila knew this. Unlike Freud, who considered the unconscious a small storage space that we stick all the stuff we don't want to deal with into, Carl Jung saw it as a world all its own that ought to be explored, especially because it contains so many riches of the ancient and collective human psyche, the human soul, the human psyche, riches to discover in our dreams, in our symbols, in our myths, and in our images, the archetypes of the collective unconscious. I find there is something very Jungian in Lila's abstract art. Impressions from her own encounters within the collective unconscious that her art admirers find moving and captivating, even if they aren't sure why, because her pieces tap into something profound about the human condition, something that can only be revealed in images and impressions, not in words. So I'll end with an anecdote that brings both of these qualities, her artistry and her character, together. There used to be a couple of large ficus trees here at the front of the sanctuary. Some of you remember those, which had become root-bound. They were here long enough they became root-bound and unhealthy, and they were destroying this beautiful floor with water damage. And a few of our members were actually angry about their removal, while others, like Lila, understood that change happens, but missed the greenery. So one Sunday, she and I were standing in the back of the room, looking toward and wondering what we might do about this. And so I put my arm around Lila on her shoulder, and I pointed to these two walls off to the side of the pulpit here. And I said, imagine this. Let's paint a green jungle scene on them with a variety of green leafy plants. She started to tense up. I said, maybe add a couple of colorful toucans and some bananas here and there. Well, Lila stood in complete silence for a few moments, struggling to find a way to balance her kindness and her honesty. But she finally said the only thing that she could say and that she should have said, which is, "You've got to be kidding." So I laughed because I was kidding, and both of us broke into laughter. And that's one of my favorite memories of Lila. It was a moment of her pure authenticity in which both her strength and her character and her artistic sensibilities rose to the surface. Like her paintings, Lila was herself a beautiful work of art, and her life has made an impression on all of us. Thank you.
We're all nervous enough to come back on the altar, on the lectern again, to speak after such a short period from the last time we were here when we were all here to celebrate Dad. And so we thought, well, it'd be better if we did it together. We'd be together and then we could share. And I'll go first because I have nothing written down, no plan. I am going to completely improvise. But when I think about Mom, my history with her, I go back to the earliest years when I was probably about 10 years old, and I had gone to kindergarten, and I had been asked to cut a Christmas tree from a folded paper. And I did not do it properly, and my kindergarten teacher was not very nice, And so I came home crying. And my mom said, "What happened?" Back then I was called Timmer. And she said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, they didn't like my Christmas tree." So I opened it up, and she said, "Oh, it's beautiful." And so then I realized that there was a difference between the kindergarten approach to art and my mother's approach to art, which is probably the most profound part of my history with her, is this wonderful, open curiosity, sense of craft and discovery and the joy in making things more beautiful. And that's the biggest gift that I can take away from my experience with Mom, is that joy in beauty and creating and sharing beauty.
Well, I have written some things down so I can stay on message.
There you go.
Thank you. So as many of you know, my mom was big about counting one's blessings. And I'd like to acknowledge the biggest blessing, which is how lucky we were to have Lila and George Girvin as our parents. They were wonderful, kind, and generous people. And we loved them very much. So much so that several years ago, my brothers and I made a commitment to let our parents live out their lives at home. And one of the best things that we could do for them. And I want to thank John for making that possible. He basically ran that household for several years, doing most of the shopping, cooking and cleaning, and hosting a litany or a revolving door of visitors, mainly us. So he's my unsung hero. I'm also grateful to our many wonderful friends. Many of you are here today. My parents enjoyed your company immensely. So many folks brought food, flowers, and memories to brighten their day. In particular, I wanted to thank Denise Atwood and Nancy Schaub for their constant attention. And personally, I want to thank my friends, many who have traveled far to be here today. So thank you. Finally, I'm grateful for time. Time we had to prepare. Time to say goodbye. I had 69 wonderful years with my mom. That was a blessing. I was retired for 8 years while she was alive, which made for quality time. And thanks for the support of my wife, I was able to spend over 5 months here last year to care for my folks. Thank you, Lord. And that included to be here for the final 23 days of my mom's life. That was a gift. Lila Girvin loved life. She lived in a world of color, beauty, laughter, and music. She shared this love with everyone, and perhaps that's why many of you are here today. So thank you for caring and sharing your love with us.
I have a poem. What a surprise. As we think of her and all those she's touched, for a precious one lost who has loved so much, we maybe not grieve too much, but rather find the strength to cherish what remains behind. Above all, you are a profound center of our world, a source of inspiration, intellect, like a shiny pearl. Often playing music loud and clear, I'm wondering now if angels hold you dear. You are definitely valued, loved, and treasured, achieving much by which one's life is measured. She was always looking for deeper meaning, never comfortable with just idle dreaming. She created tranquility with her open heart and with the brilliance of her art. Life lessons taught by simple example, with the patience shown that was quite ample. She was one who encouraged our souls so that we may make the world a better place each day. Your life was like moonlight, turning things into beauty. As children, it shined on us rather uniquely. No matter what the reason, you were always there, one we could confide with and share. As we now try to preserve the ties that bind, may it bring us all some peace of mind. So I have some additional musings. We can shed tears that she is gone, or smile because she lived so well. We can choose our eyes and wonder where she went, or open our eyes and be grateful all that she left. May our hearts be full of love she shared. In times of darkness, love sees. When there is silence, love hears. With moments of doubt, there is hope. When there are occasions of grief, love heals. And in all times, love remembers.
Some of you may wonder what the heck a Buddhist nun is doing standing at the front of the Unitarian Universalist Church. I fortunately met Lila Girvin, I think in this very room, as a part of the Unitarian Universalist Creed. There is the wish to draw wisdom from all traditions. And we, as a nun from the Buddhist monastery near Newport, Shavasti Abbey, we were kindly welcomed and held a place for meditation classes here at this church for 12 years. And during that time, George and Lila showed up for class. And over those years, they came repeatedly, regularly. They never stopped being Unitarians, believe me. They were not Buddhist, but what they appreciated was the stillness that came from the meditation practice, and most especially the emphasis on how to cultivate compassion that was so deeply aligned with their own personal values, their care for others, and their sense of social justice. And so as Lila's smile would melt the heart of any being from the beginning, right? First smile, it's all you need to see. And her connection with all of us but for me personally, was very strong. Over those years, it was more about discussing a simple question on the meditations or so forth. I know that as it got harder for them to come, and with their friend Jane Bowen, it was even harder to hear, they would meet together, those three, every week and do some meditation time together, even though they couldn't be in class. So as George's diagnosis was getting clearer, Lila reached out to us, to me. And I will say it is a tremendous privilege, and I want to thank all you guys on the front here. For the last 7 months of her life, I was able to be quite close in a very particular time, in a very particular way. So what I'd like to do today is share with you a reflection or a little bit of a guided meditation similar to what I did with Lila over the last few months. And it's following directly from Jonathan's beautiful poetry and from your sharing about bringing the gift that Lila brought to each of us, thinking of our blessings, counting those blessings, and thinking of those gifts received by her that live in us, that will go on and on and on. So as I guide this, tears may come. That's okay. But let them be tears of gratitude, not so much of the loss, but of the gift. So if you're willing, to the extent that you're willing, I suggest that you try to sit up in the chair maybe and let your body relax and lower your eyes if you wish. And just take a couple of deep breaths, rejoicing that today we are still breathing. And that too is a gift, and it's temporary. So appreciate the flow of air moving in through the body and the easy exhale, and allowing your mind to settle. And so bring to mind your own personal reflections of the kindness that you received from Lila. Moments of counseling, sharing laughter together, things that she might have done, her work that might have inspired you. Moments that come to mind, and as they do, imagine them as like light sparks at your heart. However many arise, light at your heart. And you can let that light begin to grow, connecting with your own innate quality for kindness yourself. Letting that memory of Lila's kindness enlarge and enrich the capacity for your own heart to love and to share kindness generously. And as that light begins to grow, imagine sending that off to the continuity of Lila Girvin. Whatever form you might imagine that would be, whatever your belief system allows. Energetically, spiritually, or even simply the elements of the body that have gone back to feed the earth. Allow that feeling of light to go with a sense of love, sending them on to the forward into the continuity of where Lila has gone or become, with a wish for your kindness going with you, a wish for her to have happiness, or for that spirit to be a spirit of love, wherever or whatever it may be. And then with a heart as big as Lila Girvin's, we can imagine actually sending that light to all the places on the planet that she was so compassionately concerned about. The places of war, places of famine, places of destruction, sending lights and waves of love and compassion based on that kindness that you receive from Lila. Imagine that raining to bring some benefit to those beings who are suffering everywhere. And so may that quality of kindness, may the sweetness of that smile touch the lips of every being. May her influence in whatever way, whatever kind of, as she walked on this planet for a long time, as she said, ridiculously long. May the gift that Lila Girvin brought, lived, shared, continue to live in our hearts, and let that be an inspiration for us to cultivate our own kindness to be of benefit to all beings. Thank you, Lila.
Hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Gabrielle Girvin, and I'm Lila's granddaughter. First, I want to thank you all for being here today, especially on a weekend so fitting to honor her, Mother's Day weekend. It's a time when we reflect on and appreciate the amazing women in our lives, the ones who spread love and make the world a better place. And we all know Lila was one of those women. She poured her heart into every role she took on, always showing up for the people she loved and for her community. She was an exceptional mother, wife, sister, grandmother, friend, artist, and activist. Some people have a profound effect on your life, and Lila was one of those people for me. She helped me become the woman I am today, and always encouraging me and leading me by example with kindness, grace, and strength. I admired her deeply and constantly found myself striving to be more like her. She was a guiding light, a source of unconditional love, and a presence that made everything feel better. Lila was a light seeker. She was instinctively drawn to light in all forms: beauty, truth, hope, and meaning. Guided by curiosity, resilience, and an open heart, she pursued joy and healing, even in the face of darkness. Her presence uplifted others because she didn't seek the light. She became a source of it herself. To me, she was more than just a grandmother. She was like a mother to me, and truly one of my best friends. I'll miss calling her and hearing her sweet, gentle voice. I'll miss her hugs and sharing coffee together at the Perry House and our summer visits at the lake, playing cards, sitting on the dock, just laughing and sharing stories. One memory we always laughed about was the time she packed my school lunch. To my surprise, she'd made me a peanut butter, lettuce, and pickle sandwich. She thought it was a delightful combination. Me, not so much. We ended up having a conversation about that when I got home from school. I'm deeply grateful for the time I had with her and for all the memories that she shared with my family and my two sons. Isaiah and Ellis, her great-grandchildren, who called her Gigi. She loved them so much, and they loved her right back. For the memories, the laughter, the strength, the love, and the lessons she passed down, we will carry them with us always. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate her life and her remarkable light. I'd like to read a poem from one of my grandma's best friends, Dorothy Trogdon. They were close for probably 60 years. This is a poem that we chose since it speaks to their friendship and growing old together. Dottie is still with us, living on Orcas Islands in the San Juans. The title of the poem is I Grow Old. I grow old, and who has really known me? It is not finished, my life. It will not be finished when it is over. I know there is more for me to fathom, even as darkness comes toward me. Everything overlaps the frame. Footsteps are left on every pathway, mine among them. What I couldn't see in the summer's fullness, the flare of the sea light beyond the alders, comes to me out of darkness now. The door to the sublime, right here at my elbow. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrey Overstreet. I'm a journalist and a Spokane Arts Commissioner. I've had the pleasure of writing about different art shows that Lila's held over the years, including her breathtaking retrospective just 3 years ago at the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture. And just last year, I even had the honor to help present a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Spokane Arts Awards party to Lila. I grew up in Tennessee, you might hear that, but my husband, Chip, was raised right here in Spokane and was good friends with Lila and George's youngest son, Matthew, who they lost when he was just 36 in a helicopter crash during a rescue mission when he was working to literally save the lives of children as an officer with UNICEF. That loss never left her, but she didn't let it stop her either. And on the eve of Mother's Day, I just thought that we need to honor that ability to carry on, and we should admire that she did it so well. While writing these memories about Lila, I realized I have so many things to brag about on her, but we all know Lila would never brag. She would perhaps say that the achievement she valued most was her marriage to George, who passed away last summer, just 6 months before she did. 73 years of marriage, just incredible. At 96 and 95 years old, George and Lila's passing is not a tragedy. It's just sad for us because we miss them. But Lila and George are lives well lived, adventures undertaken, challenges accepted. I got to know George after he retired. I heard that he had been a focused and skilled surgeon. The man I knew was just plain delightful and delighted. You've got to be able to appreciate a person's ability to be delighted. He was delighted by his family, by the grandkids, the great-grandkids, by Tim, Rob, and John's achievements. But most of all, George was never happier than when he could make his wife chuckle or help her shine. George was the one who built and hammered together the canvases by hand for Lila. He provided the foundation so she could be the one to paint the scenes and sign her name at the bottom. There might be a metaphor in that. Lila told me once that she was very grateful that George had made it possible for her to pursue her art. She told me about living in Seattle, raising a baby in a small apartment, using the top of the washer-dryer as her work table. She told me about studying with some of the giants of the abstract expressionist movement of the Pacific Northwest art scene. After moving to Spokane in 1958, Lila dedicated herself not only to her boys and her art, but also to helping others. Nearly 50 years ago, she helped start the Spokane Arts Commission that I serve on now. She volunteered for Allied Arts of Spokane, the Spokane Symphony, Spokane Art School, Evergreen State College, probably this church, I don't know. She and George attended every local classical concert, dance performance, and experimental play they could fit on their calendars. Not only that, but they quietly donated to all of this and more, as John is no doubt discovering every single day when he checks the mail. Lila's goal seemed simply to lift everyone up. Encourage our underfunded artists, support our immigrant communities, keep our local nonprofits going, fund left-leaning local political campaigns and candidates, especially those who pledge to protect our environment. Even Lila's paintings are springboards to lift us all up, to ignite our imaginations, or just to help us sit in our stillness. The art curator who put together Lila's retrospective at the MAC was Anne Claire Mitchell, and she once said to me, quote, "Lila is her art, and her art is her." So it's wonderful that she left her stunning paintings for us to ponder. She was a curious, seeking person, as evidenced by what she kept all around her home. There are artifacts like Buddhist iconography, travel photos, children's drawings, political cartoons, calligraphy, collages, and books. One day when I was at her house, I admired a bowl of these wonderful hand-carved gourds, and she said that I should take one. It was Matt's collection, and I should take one. And I was like, I can't. And she insisted, of course, and I'm so glad she did. Lila created a space that reflected the interplay of her many roles. Artist, I think her grandchild was just talking about this. She was an artist, she was a thinker, she was an activist, she was a mother. I feel like she was a mother to all of us. Lila was influenced by Eastern philosophy, Jungian psychology, and surrealist literature. Her interpretations of her external landscapes feel like a glimpse into her internal journeys. Her spiritual explorations are on canvas for us all to see. This is how Lila once described it. Quote, "Painting has always been, for me, a way of moving one moment at a time, trusting in intuition and not relying on thinking. The pursuit is solitary, always seeking the light within and in the image. I adventure with color and gesture, trusting the gift of the moment to guide my hand. I adventure, trusting the gift of the moment to guide her." As Anne Claire put it, quote, "Lila seemed to paint to strip away the earthly conditions that inhibit one's direct experience of the divine." She painted to strip away the earthly conditions that inhibit one's direct experience of the divine. I do hope the divine looks a lot like Lila's paintings. We'll all know soon enough. Until then, I'll picture Lila and George and Matt receiving the gift of the moment, enjoying the view together. Thank you. Okay, got through it. I'm going to introduce my eldest daughter now. She's a cellist. Come on up, hon, get ready. Whenever Lila would come over with George, there were times that she would ask to hear Duff play cello. She loved classical music, as you all know. And it's just, she adored my kids. She adored everyone that she came in contact. It seemed like her love was always out there for the taking, and I appreciated John's poem that talked about love, because really that's what she would want us to remember. All right, so Duff's going to play a little Bach in honor of Lila.
Well, it's a testament to someone that people can go on and on about a person and never, ever get to the end of what they mean. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Denise Atwood. I've known Lila since I was 3 years old. I can't really remember a time in my life when Lila wasn't a part of it. She's best friend and mischief maker with my mom, Joy. Huge supporter and activist with my dad, Wayne. Incredible partner to her beloved George. Amazing mom to her 4 boys, who I love dearly. Great and steadfast friend to so many, and student of young, adventurous traveler, huge supporter of everything that I could ever dream of. Beloved artist, partner. And she was the most exquisite community builder. The list obviously does go on and on. She was my second mom. and she always introduced me as the daughter that she never had. I love her with all of my heart, and I know that as many of you here, I could tell you story after story. She touched lives deeply, holding each of us in her soft and powerful presence. But today, I just want to say thank you to my second mama, to Lila, for teaching me one of the most important and precious life lessons, the lesson of courage and how to walk into life's immense difficulties and tragedies and look them straight in the eye with an open heart and profound curiosity. I will never forget when in the last moments of her life, as she faced an end-of-life diagnosis, she looked deeply into her doctor's eyes and asked them, how is she going to die? What did that process look like? And would she suffer? She never shied away from their difficult answers, but instead we would leave those appointments and talk about dying and what it meant and how to embrace it without fear. And she would ask, what lies behind that doorway? And we would ponder. To watch someone confront their own mortality with curiosity taught me courage. She asked me many times about my own dad's passing and wondered if she might also be able to move through that doorway quickly, graciously, with gratitude and without fear. In the end, it is exactly what Lila did, because that is the way she lived her entire life. Lila had the courage not to turn away, but to turn into the moment with whatever she was dealt, and to move with it and through it. And that was amazing. Lila has always been my mentor and my guide, and now she moves into that revered space of beloved ancestor. I thank her for all of the gifts she has so gently and quietly bestowed upon me and upon all of us. I will walk forward with the courage she taught me so beautifully, thankful to have her guidance, especially in these turbulent times. For although she has walked through that doorway that we all will walk through one day, she is still ever present and at work in my life. She always will be. I watch for her and my mom to paint the skies at sunrise and sunset, and to feel into the ways she opens my heart and my eyes more fully to the richness of living. And I invite you all to do the same. So if you could close your eyes for a moment and feel the presence of Lila Shaw Girvin surround you, let her guide you, and know deep in your heart, as Mary Oliver says in her beautiful poem, White Owl Flies Into and Out of the Field, maybe death isn't darkness after all, but so much light wrapping itself around us, as soft as feathers. Thank you.
Well, I'm another daughter here. I'm in line with Lila was a second mother to me. I had the gift of 20 years of moments of sparks and light with Lila. Thanks to Tim, my partner here. She was really a creative and spiritual guide to me, a mother also, and a teacher. She taught me to let the painting paint itself. Her creativity and her curiosity were truly interwoven. It was so remarkable in every endeavor, and her compassion and spirituality were a guide. She had a deep connection to ritual, so I thought that since everything I just said, you've already heard from everyone else, I wanted to share something that she did with her family, especially with George, for the last 25 years since the passing of Matt. Right before I do that, yesterday I was sitting in her office working, and I discovered something that Dottie wrote to her in 1989, and I couldn't say it better. Lila, I love you for all the merry laughter, how you festoon my dark and colored silks, with my silences with silver bells. You lead the way through garden paths to sunny fields, lightness being the only crown you wear, kindness the only speech you've ever known. I'm going to ask the family to join me if you'd like. We're going to do a blessing. This is Lila's blessing. These are her words. Right, the candle is lit. Good morning, Lila and George, and Matt, and Virginia and Graham, Judy and Bill and Wayne, and the family. May you all be happy, healthy, safe travels, safe from illness, safe from accidents, loving, kind, compassionate, reverent, strong, courageous, creative, resilient, wise, smart, having a sense of humor, perspective and balance, loving your lives, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for bringing us. Thank you for bringing us.
George would say, thank you for bringing us, for bringing them. Those were Lila's blessing every day for 25 years.
So it says singing together. I don't see any song leaders. I'm not it. I haven't been tagged for that. Good thing for you. But you probably know this little light of mine. So whoever has the strong voices, please lead us as Jackie plays.
And there are hymnals under your seats. So if you want to follow along, it is number 118.
Oh, thank you. 118. Yeah, those of you in the front don't seem to have them. So, but you can share with those in the, there you go, thank you. 118. Yes. And go ahead and sing out, those who have a voice for doing so. I'll keep mine on the down low. Would you like to stand? You need, yeah, why don't you stand? Good. Incidentally, Jackie Sandberg is our church pianist. I think, and I can honestly say this, one of the best pianists in the Spokane area, if not the region. We are so fortunate to have them here, and you can hear them each Sunday if you wanted to join us sometime. The music is worth it even if the sermons are not. We're going to take a little time now for public sharing, giving those of you here an opportunity, some of those here an opportunity to share an anecdote or so, a memory of Lila. Sue, do you mind getting a microphone and walking around with it? Thank you. Would you prefer the one up here, Todd? It's totally up to you. And we could actually have two if someone wants to take the other one. It's a big audience. If everybody wants to say something, we're not going to be able to do that because we do have services in the morning and we'll need to clear out by then. But this is really I think one of the most significant parts of a service. We really got in the habit of calling these a celebration of life, and I think that's a great sentiment, and it's proper to call it a celebration of life. But I also like memorial service. I like to call it a celebration of life and a memorial service. Because what are we doing? We're remembering. We've been remembering here today, right? But this enables me to say it's only the beginning of the memorial service. That as long as we continue to share stories and memories in the weeks and the months and the years ahead, we are conducting our memorial service to the memory of those we love, in this case, Lila Girvin and George Girvin and as well as others. So don't be shy about that. So often we stop talking about the people we miss, or to people about the people they miss, because we're afraid it's going to bring up the hurt and the sadness. And it does, that's okay, right? But it also brings up the joy and the goodness. So I think that what I would ask you to do before anybody says anything is to let's just take a few seconds and answer this question for yourself. Whether you share it today, share it later, share it with nobody, but have it just for yourself. The question is, why are you here today? And that's what this is about. So don't mind the moments that might be pregnant with silence. If there are, we can handle a little bit of quiet for a while, especially our Buddhist friend, I know. Do we have any Quakers in the room? No. So, yes, Tom.
Yeah, I've known George and Lila probably for half a century. I didn't know them well. I'm a member of this church for more than a half a century. And I learned a lot about Lila, and that's going to stick with me for a long time. So, as you said, what am I here for? I'm here to learn more about Lila, and I sure did learn.
Thank you.
We have one over here.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann Murphy, and I have the great good fortune of looking at Lila anytime I want to, as one of her paintings hangs over my bed, and it's I cherish it so much. I've learned so much from her and from it. And I mostly knew Lila because I was always hitting her up for money for my progressive political candidates, and we would be having garden parties for them, and she and George always were stalwart supporters. And I'll never forget the time, though, that she called me up and asked me, who should I vote for? And here was this incredibly wise and connected woman, and she was asking me, for some other minor office, she was interested in who I would vote for. She just made you feel like that. She was great.
Thank you. Tom, one behind you.
So every time we saw Mrs. Girvin, she always had something that she made for us, and it showed us that she cared for us, and she cared for everybody in this room, but it's not even limited to that. She cared for everybody, really.
My name's Katie, and this is my daughter Willa and my sister Michelle. Oh, thanks. My parents are Judy Ladden and Larry Shook, and we grew up down the street on Perry Street from George and Lila, and they were dear friends of our family. Lila and my mom Judy played piano together every week for many years, and my mom really cherished that relationship. My mom died just a few years ago, and it's meant so much to have Lila holding her memory with us. And Lila was a great inspiration to me as an artist. I ended up pursuing art, and I'm sure it's in large part from being exposed to Lila's way of making and being really engaged with the world. And so I just treasure the memory of her and George.
Thank you.
So, Jonathan, Rob, Timmer, my name's David Craig. I'm one of the Craig children that you grew up with, but I have a confession to make. It's about your mother. As you know, all boys in the first and second grade fall in love with their teacher. Well, I fell in love with your mom. I had a crush on her. So she was a great influence on our family, and the beauty, the kindness, the love that she expressed has never been forgotten. And my going into the construction industry over on the other side of the state, being exposed to architects and a few artists, and the art shows I did go to, I would often stop and talk with the artists and say, my gosh, you seem to have been influenced by Lila Girvin. She was a very wonderful person, as was your father. Well, I feel very fortunate to have known her.
Story to tell for a big part of our lives. My mother had a son, then a daughter, then another daughter, then a son. Lila had Timmer, we called him. And they were delighted. She got pregnant a second time. My mother and Lila were dear friends. She got pregnant a second time, and she got a second boy. Lovely, a lovely second boy. Of course, anyone who has two boys is always kind of hoping for a girl. So she got pregnant a third time, and she was delighted. She was a wonderful pregnant woman. And another boy came. And they were delighted, of course. And then the fourth time she got pregnant, and baby, she asked my mother, will you bring a bonnet and a beautiful dress and some little booties down just for the day? And my mother accommodated her with a bonnet and a beautiful little dress and some booties and a pretty blanket. And they dressed this baby one time as a beautiful daughter for Lila. And that was the end of that.
Well, that looks like it might be a great anecdote to end with, including some laughter and levity. But again, this is not the end of your memorial service. I hope you will continue to share stories together today during the reception and after the service, as well as in the days ahead. So let's see, I left my order here. Oh, you guys are going to come and give the closing words, right? Great.
So this has been incredibly beautiful and profound for all of us, and very grateful for your time and your stories and your love and sharing. It's really wonderful, and all of us will never forget this day. There's one part of my connection with Mom that is sort of unique, and that is that both of us had a very strong connection to Eastern philosophy and language and religion. And as Todd mentioned, Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, the psychologist who had theories about the underlying current of psychic space and the meaning of the drifts in myth and meaning and archetypes. And there's one piece that the last time I did this for Dad, I actually drew this on the spot, but this time I drew it a little bit earlier because it's a little more complicated. And this is Sanskrit, Lila. I drew this a little bit earlier today. And Lila, as a Sanskrit word, has a series of meanings, but really it is about play. It's about divine play, it's about sport, it's about love and enjoyment of the engagement in being. And this, I wanted to share this with everyone today, this idea of play, thinking about life and the play that we make, the journey that we make, the play there is, because this is surely one of the most profound parts of my relationship with Mom, was the sense of play and humor and exploration. So thanks everyone for being here today, and we'd love it if you go to the website that we built for Mom, LilaGirvin.com. There's a place for you to make comments, write stories, enrich that experience. We also have seeds to plant in the back, unless they're all gone already, that you can take and plant some seeds and remember Mom and some flowers. So, oh yes, and then there's a memory book, and of course it'd be great if people added a note there. And then we also have what Mom and I used to call weathergrams, pieces of paper that you write something on, then hang it outside and allow it to slowly dissolve in the seasons, the sun, the rain, the snow, the wind. Was there anything else? Yeah, so Mom was playing piano up till very close to her death. She had a piano near her hospital bed, so we would give her a chance to get up and play, and then Dad, of course, would oftentimes stand behind her and sing songs. So she would play, and then he would sing along as best he could, and we all would. So we have captured some of those pieces, and we'll use that as a recessional for today. And thank you. Keep the spirit on wing.
Thank you for bringing.
You don't play easy pieces, do you? That's fairly complicated.
Yeah, that is complicated. And it's a reach of the octave in it